The highly anticipated Aerosoft A330 for Microsoft Flight Simulator is not too far away. In today's video, I'm talking about all the recent updates from the Aerosoft team regarding their twin-jet Airbus long hauler. Without further delay, allow us to get right into it. Okay, so I bring you this A330 dedicated video today simply because there has been an influx of information regarding the Airbus A330 released on the Aerosoft Forum within the last few days. So I'm going to bring you all the new information there. First off, allow me to tell you about how the whole project is looking as a whole. In my opinion, we are very close to release. There are certain indicators that, at least to me, indicate that this aircraft could be released in as little as a month or so, but more realistically within the next 3 months. Of course, I could be wrong there, but let me explain it. First off, the paint kit has been released for the Aerosoft A330. You can in fact access this via the Aerosoft Forum right now, so if you want to get to working on some liveries of the beautiful A330, you can already do that. Of course, in most instances, the paint kit is released alongside the release of the product. It's not normally the standard operating procedure of Aerosoft to do that. I do believe in the past they've released the paint kit first, but you will find for most developers the paint kit comes with a product when it comes out. So that's a really good early warning sign there. On top of that, there is already heavy speculation regarding pricing, and I'm sure many of you will have seen this floating around the internet. That to me shows it's in the final stages of development. As soon as a company starts talking about the price of their product, it means they probably have somewhat of a high level of confidence in their product. Now shall we talk about some features of this aircraft in detail, seeing as we have plenty of information to delve into. Let's start off with the exterior. MSFS shares with us plenty of screenshots of the A330 external model in the simulator, and while they're all in the same location, we do get a look at about 8 different liveries of this aircraft, all in stunning 4K, from Cathay Pacific to Air Canada to TAP Portugal to Virgin Atlantic. They're all looking really good. Of course, it would be better if we could get closer, but I have to say I'm rather impressed. It certainly looks realistic. We're getting a nice amount of wear and tear on the outside. They don't look perfectly clean, they look realistic, and all the liveries suit the A330. Of course, it's a very photogenic aircraft. You will notice that all of these aircraft have the canted winglets on, which are the short upward ones. And I have to say, I'm rather useless at engine recognition, but I do believe they all have the same engine on them. Of course, feel free to correct me down below, but I was just looking in between them, and they are all very similar, so I do believe they're all the Rolls-Royce engines for the A330. That aside, in stunning 4K, the external model of the A330 by Aerosoft is looking very good. I really can't fault it. Shall we head inside the aircraft to look out from the window? Here there are more points of contention, but on the whole, it's looking very good. Definitely better than most aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim. The wing does look stunning, although you can see some blurry textures when you look towards the fuselage. The engine also looks very good, some great texturing on there. In my opinion, the window modelling could be a bit smoother. There are some jagged edges here and there, but that might be related to performance, because of course if you increase the number of polygons, you do of course decrease performance. That's of course coming from someone that understands very little about aircraft development in Microsoft Flight Sim, but I think I've got the general gist of it there. Looking out of the other side of the aircraft, a similar picture can be seen. It's looking very good, modelling certainly good, texturing's great, but of course the jagged edges on the windows do stand out a bit there. I'm sure Aerosoft will fix it if they need to. It's not a major issue in my opinion. I am just picking bones here. Okay, so over the last few weeks on the Aerosoft forum, MSFS has released some screenshots regarding the EFB. I have to say, the electronic flight bag, which for those of you who don't know, basically replaced all forms of paper in the cockpit. You can load up your charts on there, work out weight and balance, speak to your company, etc. I have to say, the electronic flight bag I've just been speaking about is looking incredibly well made. I know some people go crazy over having an EFB in the cockpit. In my opinion, they're not a major wish of mine. Pilots have been flying without them for 100 years. They're a relatively recent invention, although they are certainly very helpful. But I have to say, Aerosoft are doing a stellar job with them. They look sleek, they look modern, and they look practical, so credit to them there. One thing with having an EFB in the cockpit is that it will have a negative impact on FPS. If you think about what is the probably best performing aircraft payware airliner in Microsoft Flight Sim, most of you would say the 737. What does the 737 not have in the cockpit? Well, at the moment, infamously, it doesn't have an EFB. As Mathis says on the forum, that is because the EFB, especially with the likes of a moving map on the screen, has a big impact on FPS. Although we will be speaking about performance in a moment, and I'm sure some of you will be rather impressed with what the Aerosoft team have pulled off. In my opinion, while I wouldn't say the EFB is a must-have, it's certainly nice to have, and the Aerosoft team seem to have done a very good job with it. Speaking about the cockpit as a whole, although we only get a little glimpse at it, it is looking rather good, although in my opinion, a bit cartoonish at the moment, so definitely needs a bit of roughening up. You know, adding some scratches, adding some dust, adding some fingerprints, although I do understand at this point it does turn more into personal preference than quality. So my personal preference is that it looks slightly more realistic if it has some grime on it. Some people may of course disagree, but I think I stand with the overall majority there. Now Mathis provides some information on performance, and I have to say it does sound pretty good. In the photo I'm showing you on the screen right now, Mathis says he got 44 FPS. Of course we're on the ground, but we are sat at a rather busy airport. Look on the door of that ground vehicle and the sign in the top right corner of the screen, and you'll realise we're sat at Brussels Airport. Of course, you could have used the kindly provided EFB to tell you that, but it depends on how observant you are. So of course, this is a very demanding airport, so to have 44 FPS sat on the ground here, in my opinion, is very good. Of course, his system specs will have an impact. I do believe, off the top of my head, he has a similar graphics card to me, which is a 3060 Ti, so it's by no means the worst, but definitely sits in the mid-range of graphics cards in the current day. He does say that when the EFB displays text only, his FPS jumps up to 48 FPS, basically 50. I have to say it makes complete sense. Think about the best performing aircraft payware airliner in Microsoft Flight Sim at the moment, and you'd say the PMDG 737. What has that not got? It hasn't got an EFB. Coincidence? Well, it might be, but I think not. All in all, performance is looking very good. Hopefully that will translate quite nicely down to a lower spec system, especially with all the updates with Sim Update 12 in the future. It seems to be that this product will be pretty well optimised for Microsoft Flight Sim, and seeing as Aerosoft are planning an Xbox release, I better hope it will be, because of course, as many of you will be familiar with, the Xbox Series S doesn't have the capabilities that the majority of gaming PCs do have. So if Aerosoft have got Xbox in mind, they have to ensure that this product is correctly optimised. I'm sure they will do it. All in all, it's looking very good. Now, some of the screenshots of the cockpit are slightly older, as well as the external model, but all in all, it's looking very good. I'm very impressed. There is plenty to read on the forum, and I cannot talk about it all today. Some things are quite insignificant, other things I've tried to highlight in this video. I would recommend you check out the forum anyway. Performance is very good, the cockpit is looking good, but needs some roughing up in my opinion. The exterior is looking good with stunning 4K textures. Overall, this is not far off from release, as we've seen by the release of the paint kit already. So if you're a livery maker, it's your field day. You can already start working on the A330. The final thing we're going to be talking about is price. As I've said throughout this video, this product is planned for not only PC but also Xbox. course, that means Aerosoft have to hit the middle ground. They can't go charging $100 for a product like companies might have done in the old days of FSX and P3D. Of course, Aerosoft never normally hit that boundary anyway. They normally go for around $50 to $40. While Mathis did ask people to stop speculating on price, he also gave us a little hint about what the price will be of the Aerosoft A330. We know it will be less than $60. It means it could be $59 99 cents, but definitely less than $60. The upper boundary of that would be rather expensive in my opinion, especially seeing as Aerosoft are aiming to release this on Xbox as well. It's also not going to be the highest fidelity, as we know Aerosoft don't provide what some would call study level products, if you'll pardon me using that term, as I don't really like using it, because unless you're getting your type rating off a Microsoft Flight Sim aircraft, in my opinion it can't really be study level. But Aerosoft are definitely aiming for a sort of mid to high range accessible aircraft, so to ask $60 for that would be on the higher side in my opinion. As I've said, my personal prediction is $40 to $50. I think that sits right on the Xbox marketplace and for PC users. Seeing as Aerosoft are aiming for a high quality product, I think that would be fair to ask. But of course we need some clarification, and I'm sure we'll get that over the next few weeks, or maybe in the next few days. On that note guys, are you looking forward to the Aerosoft A330? I know I am. What sticks out to me is how good this aircraft looks from the outside, but also how good performance is set to be. On that note guys, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and check out my new Amazon web store to see all the stuff I used to fly, film and edit. I'll see you around. Have a good one. Bye bye.